regular visitor to different IITs. He has developed a tremendous insight regarding the process of IIT JEE while interacting with the students of different training centers. To impart the training program for IIT JEE and understood the depth of problem and how to cope with those. With his a lot of experience, is going to share with all of you. I'm going to invite Mr. Professor Ajay Kumar.
The topic that was given to me. So during this course of time, I would actually like to reveal what is IIT, what is JEE, the process which is followed, and thereafter, if there are some changes, what challenges does it throw to you, and how to cater to solution. So this is how. So first of all, my talk especially would be for the students who are here. So please pay attention to it because it is all for you, all the things. So essentially, this is why we are here today. These are IITs. Number of IITs in our country. I will be trying to touch upon them in due duration of time. So this is where we are going to counsel the students in this institute. That's what I am told. So before going into all these things, what are these? Let's see from where we are all coming as far as IITs are concerned. It all began just after Second World War. After Second World War, there was a gentleman named Sir Arsid Dalal. He was exactly a Vice Executive Council member. Vice Executive Council in those days, because we were under the rule of Britishers. I am talking of exactly 1946. In 1946, just the Second World War has ended, and now we are talking of this gentleman who was member of the Britishers cabinet who were ruling the country in those days. So this gentleman actually was foreseeing the freedom of India. And then what he said was very important. He said that India's future is not into capital, but somewhere it will be onto the technology. And when he said that, he has inherently recommended a very important thing. And he said that perhaps this is the time when should be thinking very seriously about something which can be called as Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. So any of you who are in engineering field today, it will be a very common name. You all know what it is. And now, this was the gentleman who was behind it. So this is how it all started. But when he thought of this Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, there was a very serious and legitimate problem with it, and he said that I should try to answer it. The problem which he was facing, his intent was to develop a world-class research institute where the top-class researchers of this globe would come and would then contribute to the greater technology creation country called India, and hence actually help us in living a better life. But then we were talking of 1947, and you could all imagine when we were under Britishers that we did not have all those things that we would always consider now to be very normal. So there was a challenge that how actually are you going to manpower this Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. When it comes down to this manpower, in those days we had a technical corporation mission which Viceroy's Executive Council has signed up with America. And that's what he said, that we should actually be getting some doctoral fellowship as far as manpowering this Council of Scientific and Industrial Research is concerned. But then he again given a thought, and very legitimate thought, and he said that till what long are we going to depend on US to manpower this very noble cause? And then he says that I should have at least something in my own country which can manpower, which can give me some serious scientists who would think about it. And that was the time when he thought that there should be something within territories of our country where I can produce these people. And that in history is seen as the first seed when someone has thought about an institute like IIT. So that's from where we are starting up. Then came independence. We were all happy. 1947, all the flag hoisting ceremony. Jawaharlal Nehru speaking very wonderful words on the eve of our freedom, that we got free from the Britishers. And then came Dr. B.C. Roy. B.C. Roy was the first Chief Minister of West Bengal, a very beautiful state in our country. He said, and he was actually encouraged by someone who was a prominent educationalist of his time, and his name was Humayun Kabir. Humayun Kabir, and in those days, I hope engineering people would have listened to the name of Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore, a very prestigious institute. The director of that institute, J.C. Ghosh, they two people has gone to Chief Minister of West Bengal, Dr. B.C. Roy, and said that we should now work something on the idea that was probed by Sir Dalal before independence, because now we are free and now we can work something on it. And when it was proposed to him, he was very fast in fact, and he formed a committee, and this committee would look after a draft proposal for forming up higher technical institutes, and this was the term that was given in those days. But then Sarkar was the name of the individual who was chairmaning this committee, and hence you would have heard the name of Sarkar committee. They people were responsible for working onto it. But then Dr. Roy was not very happy with the advancement which this committee was making. And that's when he said that now we have to little bit catalyze it, we have to increase speed of it. And that's when he have formed an interim committee which then would actually fasten the process of setting up these institutes. These institutes, this committee has actually proposed that we should now be having institutes which would then manpower our Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, and we should be actually thinking in such terms that these institutes are spread across all regions of our country. So we are talking of east, west, north and south. Everywhere you can have some institutes which would then fuel up this thing. So this idea has actually clicked Dr. Roy, and there was a very beautiful part of that report which the committee has presented, and that report says that West Bengal is the state which has maximum number of engineering industries in those days. And that has just like clicked to Dr. Roy, and he said that okay, come on, if we are the people in West Bengal who are having maximum number of engineering industries, then why not we have the first IIT in our land only? And that's when he have jumped on to Pandit Nehru, the Prime Minister in those days, and he put up a proposal, drafted an act, and that's when Pandit Nehru has accorded this, and that was the time when the first IIT was formed. So where will it be formed? It was still a question. So the picture that you are looking at now is Hitchley detention camp near Kolkata. This was the place which was actually used to detain the freedom strugglers who were really fighting up, because in those days freedom was on the top of the agenda. People were getting into these jails and they were falling short of limits. And that was the time when this jail was built up, because Buxar detention camp was full of people in those days. So this was a new building which has come up in those days. Nehru thought that okay, what could be more better a way to start an IIT with the building which actually had lot many people who have all the curiosity for our country getting freedom. So that's how in 18 August 1951 the first IIT was formed, and this building by the way was in Kharagpur. Kharagpur is a place which is very near to Kolkata, and that's when the first IIT was formed, and this was IIT Kharagpur. So that is how we all started. This was the agenda behind it, to actually have something very critical and very crucial. Now this was 1951 that we are talking. The history is long, things haven't stopped at that time, because West Bengal being in one corner of the country, I've just told you that the idea was to set up these institutes across all the corners, and then the people started shouting up that if West Bengal can get an IIT, why not I? And that was when, with the help of UNESCO and Soviet Union, the second IIT was formed in Mumbai. And that was called as IIT Bombay in those days. Now we are talking of 1958. 7 years after the first IIT was formed. A wonderful place it is in Powai. Then after 1958 came 1959. The place was Kanpur, and IIT Kanpur was formed. And this was actually out of a very interesting thing, that in those days we used to have Kanpur Indo-American program, and that program was used to actually form up this IIT, because there was a consortium of US industries who said that yes, I will give you technical help in forming of these places. And that's when they thought about that, okay, Uttar Pradesh, this is the place where we haven't seen any IIT, so let's get it done here. So that's how third IIT came into picture. So now we are still going ahead in time. So this is 1959 and you have 3 IITs already with you. Still 1959, Chennai was the place. In those days it used to be called as Madras. Western Germany were the people who have given technical help in establishing this IIT. And in 1959 this IIT was established. A wonderful place to go, a sprawling campus, more than 700 acres. Then came IIT Delhi 1961. So in those days it was an engineering institute. So they said that okay, being capital of the country, we should have something very formidable. And hence, just 2 years after when IIT Madras and IIT Kanpur were formed, we were talking of another IIT, that was IIT Delhi. So then, thereafter it was a long gap. We have seen at least 2 decades, there was no movement as far as formation of these IITs was concerned. Now came the time when people have started agitating, or specifically the student quarter has started agitating into the Assam region of our country and says that we should also have something into it. So we are talking about 1987. In those days, Rajiv Gandhi used to be our Prime Minister. Rajiv Gandhi has then looked at it and listened to students, and invariably he just said yes to students, and that's what happened. He never have realized that he is talking of as good as 1500 crore establishment in Assam. But he could not go back from here, and that's how IIT Guwahati came into picture. So we are talking about 1987, the 6th IIT. Then is a story in itself. If you would look at IIT Roorkee, the name that we call this, it in fact is the oldest institution of engineering that we have in our country. You'll be amazed to know that it was in 1847, exactly 1847 when this college was formed, and that was formed by Britishers. That was the first technical institute that Britishers has actually built up in country India. And what they did is that they have named it as Thomson College of Civil Engineering. And the name was given in 1854, 5 years after the institute was formed. And then the time has passed by, we got our independence. And then just after our independence in 1949, 2 years after we got freed from the Britishers, we said that this is the oldest institute that we are having on our land. And we should now look at it as an aspiring candidate who will now guide us as a torchbearer to show us light in the times to come. And that's when Government of India has decided to make it a university. And the name given to it was University of Roorkee. It was only in 2001 that University of Roorkee was given the stature of IITs. So that's how IIT Roorkee came into picture, a very, very wonderful campus. It's a wonderful thing to see. Of late in 2008, now we are talking of IIT in BHU. BHU, a very famous university of our country. They have this IT department. And then there were a lot of proposals going from the university to convert it to IIT. These are total number of IITs that we have in our system. Good in number, very good, and they have actually scaled up the number of people that can actually be engulfed into. So they are capable of taking as many as 900. In fact, if you could recall the picture that I showed you just a while back, it's not different. It's just the time has passed. The same building, the same Italy camp, the same Italy detention camp actually, where the people would be detented, and now we are seeing it as an epitome of our technology. So the time has changed, a lot of water has passed since then. And this is something, that comparison that you can draw. A lot of time has passed, but the things have not changed, and now we are talking something really wonderful and stubborn. Then what these IITs gave up, now all the wonderful talks, this was established with this vision, this aim, this and that, all the blah blah things. Okay, let's come on ground, what they have actually given us. A lot of people used to ask these questions. I have the time limit, I have the actually slides limit, I have bandwidth limit, I have data limit, so I cannot put all the pictures and name of the people who have actually come out with IIT system has contributed wonderfully to this world. So I've just picked up only few of them. And these are the people who have really done good. So look at Anna Narayan Murthy. I don't know. And in the background you can see the senate of it. I have gone there to attend their cultural fest. That's called Thomso. A wonderful place. The vibration that the students had at this place, that keeps this place alive. What if it is 1 a.m. in the morning? A wonderful, wonderful place. Just trying to tell you that it's wonderful to be in these places. Wonderful to be. So when we are talking of these real good places, with real good intentions, with sober intentions, there is a big responsibility that these institutes are sharing and having on their shoulders. Board, okay, let's do admissions, let's set up papers and let's do all that stuff. And this board in turn has developed something that you and I are aware of as of now, and that is called as joint entrance exam. And that is called as JEE very fondly. This is how the structure is built up. This is how who will take care of what. Efforts have actually converged to one place where we have thought of to be changing our process of doing the things. 20% in CBSE board, that is across India. Suppose you are sitting in Haryana, you are giving exams, so board exams for Haryana Board of Secondary Education, then you have to be among top 20% of, only then you can get into an IIT. First one, and more important one. So if you would remember, the first thing was that top 20% of any board will ultimately be eligible to get into an IIT. Third is your mental balance. Because some students who were speaking out, actually some of them were highlighting the problem in balancing their mind when they are giving an exam like IIT. So this mental balance has to be there. Your inter, which is board exams with IIT preparation. So you do not just look at your plus 2 exams as plus 2 exams, you have to look at it as to be preparation for your IIT. That is the only way out. Overcoming challenges. Now first of all we have to look at a library state. So we have looked at these three wonderful things. The first one being, okay, 80%, 20% top in your board exams, that is one. Then getting into first 150,000 people, that is two. Then getting into the merit list, that is three. Are there some real challenges? We have already paralleled these two things, the earlier things and the after things. We have already paralleled JEE Advanced with IIT JEE. We have already paralleled AIEEE with JEE Mains. So there is no change as far as these things are concerned. So I urge you people to ask yourself, is there a real change in it? Yes, you will find people that yes, there is a change. Lot of things has eventually passed on from the time when IIT Kharagpur was formed to this date in 2013. Some people will say yes, the glaciers has gone down, now there is more water than the number of glaciers, yes, change has taken place. Some people will say this, but I would just looking at this suggesting that 2 plus 2 is still 4. And that is important thing to note. The fundamentals do not change and they will always be same. Now apple is still falling from a tree. It is not that the apple is getting itself up from the ground and then going back to tree. So the fundamentals are still strong. What I am trying to emphasize on is that the concept of gravity is same, the fundamentals are same, the two anything why these are so, unless you do not have a why, you can never ever be able to find a solution. Second, a very small thing to look at it is to have perspective of the things. And to see this perspective, we have to understand that you have to have your own opinion. And what we mean by this opinion is that you have to have a logic. Gone are the days when you would just crank up the things and go into class and score good in exams. Now we are talking of logic and connectivity, why these things are taking place. To make you understand this thing, I would like you to take back to a battle which took place many years ago on the bank of Indus. These are two brothers. One is Kartikeya, the peacock god. Another one is Ganesha, the elephant-headed god. One day they both have decided to go into a race. And the race was, okay, let's see, the one who will get around this globe 3 times faster, he will win the race. So that was the race. Kartikeya said, okay, I will do it. He was roaming around the mountains. He was roaming around the green pastures. And then he was roaming around the rivers. And he was roaming around the globe. once, twice and thrice. He said that's the time that I took. Then came Ganesha and he said that I will only revolve around my parents, and that is once, and that is twice, and that is thrice. So he just did this, and he just stood with his brother Kartikeya, and he said, I won. Asked Kartikeya how? And Ganesha replied very humbly, and he said that you went around the world, and I went around my world. For me, my parents are my world. For you, the trees, the sky, the mountains, the rivers are your world. They are not world for me. So Ganesha was having his own perspective. This is how I look at the things. This is how my logic works. And you have to find out this logic. And if you don't find out this logic, you will not be actually getting into anywhere. Forget about IITs. Now we are talking of questioning everything. Now just give me a very small answer. Was Newton the first person to see an apple falling down from the tree? There has been tens of thousands and hundreds and millions of people who would have seen apple falling from the tree, but they haven't asked the question that why is it falling down, why is it not going up? And when he has asked this question, when he had his own perspective that if it is falling down, there should be something which is just pulling it towards the ground, and that's when the thing started, and that's when he said that it's gravity which is working out. So this is about perspective and asking questions, very important. And that's a wonderful quotation. There are those who look at the things the way they are and ask why. And I dream of the things that never were and ask why not. Don't just question the things which you can see, which are available. Learn to question the things that you cannot see, that why they are not existing. Why this is existing is okay, but why they are not existing is even more important.